Hello friends, welcome. Let me start by asking how many of us remember the transformation of the sixth house? Now, before Shri K.S. Krishnamurti showed in and provided a new perspective on the sixth house, the beneficial role of the sixth house was thought to be a kind of a useless negative house with hardly any weight. But now it is a well established and proven KP principle that one cannot attain significant success in life without the sixth house playing an active part. So this transformation of the sixth house from an ordinary to an special, this is not an ordinary event that happened in the Jyotish world. Now, similarly, some great transformation is happening in the eighth house. But let me first give you a brief overview of Savitri Devi. So this will provide a good context about the transformation that has been happening in the eighth house, and it is kind of going unnoticed. Now, Savitri Devi is just a symbolic name, and she was a part of our extended family, and she became a widow at the age of 30. She got married into a very wealthy family. Same year, she became a widow, and then she had to come back to her native place where she lived until the age of 83. She remained a widow until her death. And this is just a AI generated image of Savitri Devi. I remember when I began studying astrology, and that happened many years after the death of Savitri Devi. In our Jyotish study circle, we agreed that the eighth house was the main cause of her misfortune. Eighth house was deemed to be a negative house and something that would bring all kind of a problem in a person's life. So obviously, as a widow, uh, she was entirely dependent on the other male male members of the family, and she had no money and she had no income, no job. You see, I'm talking about I guess around 60s. So at that time, the child marriage was very common, and then the remarrying was very difficult. So that's what happened to Savitri Devi. And we all agreed that it was all happened because of the eighth house. I do not have a copy of her horoscope, but that's what is generally understood, that eighth house is what brings on these kind of a curse in a person's life. I would especially like to focus on uh, the the Daridra Yoga or the financial problem that are brought in by the eighth house. It is true that the eighth house has or creates some kind of a windfall and inheritance also. A windfall means an unexpected gain of money through some lottery or unexpected events, and of course the inheritance is there. But the uh, the inheritance, the money coming in through inheritance and all that were very uncommon, both the windfall and the inheritance. yoga created by the eighth house, they were deemed to be uncommon, and inheritance used to occur too late in life, or when it occurred at that time, it was very irrelevant. It was not needed. A person might be going through a bad phase in the during the youth time of his or her life, and so at that time, this kind of a windfall or inheritance may or may not happen. So it was very uncommon and not something that was dependable uh, on the eighth house. Now let's examine the negative keywords Sri Krishnamurti has provided us in relation to the eighth house. So you can see all kind of anxiety, delay, dejection, disappointment, loss, obstruction, humiliation, all that is caused by the eighth house. And this is not a very positive house. This is not deemed to be a positive house, and it definitely creates all kind of problems in a person's life. And this also creates a daridriya, where it brings in a severe kind of financial hardship in a person's life. Sri Krishnamurti has mentioned, and this is also well known, that eighth house negative effects are strongly associated with death or loss or mishap, some kind of deprivation, and all of which lead to extreme financial difficulties. So eighth house has some kind of it starts with some kind of a crisis, and that starts leading to the financial hardship. For example, somebody, there might be some unexpected death of some member of the family, like in the case of Savitri Devi, there was an unexpected death of her husband, and that created all kind of issues in her life. So we know that the unexpected death results in the financial hardship. Then again, if somebody is involved, or maybe some key member of the family is involved in some kind of accident, then again it can result in the severe financial hardship. Or one might be going through uh, some uh, some severe illness, or maybe some important member of the family, close member of the family, is going through some illness, and that treatment itself makes a person raise all kind of debts. So this is also one scenario associated with the eighth house. The loss of job. See, a lot of these layoffs keeps happening in the corporation these days, and suddenly some person may find that he or she has been fired, and this again creates a financial problems, and then they are not able to pay their mortgage, or they are not able to pay their bills. So there is some calamity or some disaster or some crisis that eventually results in the financial difficulties caused by the eighth house, and then it becomes very spiral. A person gets trapped into all kind of debts, because the severity of the eighth house, the negative effects of the eighth house are very strong, and they create a long lasting effect on a person's life. So Savitri Devi passed away in late 90s at a very ripe age, leaving behind nothing. And the eighth house continued to be a house of misfortunes, resulting in financial hardship. But have you guys noticed that there is some great transformation actually that has been happening in the areas of misfortune and the miseries caused by the eighth house? And I want to draw your attention to what kind of some positive things are happening in the eighth house. It's very evident. We all know it is happening, but we haven't so far documented it, and we haven't started talking about the the positive thing happening in the eighth house. Uh, that's not being discussed in the Jyotish community. I would even say that the eighth house is kind of creating a new kind of a dhanyo. So I might even call it a Neo-Dhana. And I'll draw your attention that how it house has gone through a very great positive transformation. Now, before looking into the positive transformation of the eighth house, let's generally look at what are the other positive things that eighth house indicates. So according to Krishnamurti, it indicates the receipt of gifts, legacy, money of the disease, that inheritance that we spoke about, and then the windfall, insurance, bonus, gratuity, provident fund, and those kind of things. But many of these things are not very timely. Means that when somebody is going through a crisis, then the positive side of the eighth house might not manifest and be a helping hand at that time. Now, in all of these keywords, the positive keywords that Shri KSK has mentioned, I'm going to focus on this particular aspect, the the unearned income. This is what is creating a tremendously positive dhan yogas in the because of the eighth house, and this need to be taken into consideration. So that's we are going to discuss the unearned income and what kind of a Neo-Dhana yoga or what kind of a positive and very dramatic influence it is having on a person's life. Now let me draw your attention towards the Neo-Dhana yoga. That is what I call because of the eighth house, and the focus is on the unearned income. The Dhana yoga not requiring any kind of financial obligation from a person's side. It's just, I would say, an easy money or a free money coming in, and this could come at any part of life. Unlike it used to have, it happened in the life of other persons where they had to wait until the death of or until some major crisis that happened late in the late part of the life. So first thing is the death. Now these days there are these schemes where a big sum of payout money goes to the beneficiary, and then he or she is able to move on with the life and pursue their dreams. And this is very important that in many cases that I have seen, the beneficiary was not supposed to make any co-pay or what we typically called as a premium. There were no financial obligation. And when death happened of some near and dear person in the family, then they received a very big sum of payout. I'm not talking about a small sum, a very big payout of money, and that created a very positive effect in that person's life. Unlike Savitri Devi, where the life became just a kind of a non-existence kind of a life. But here I have seen in past, I guess, 10 years or so, so I have seen that this particular aspect where the beneficiary is not required or has not been making any contribution from their side, but they are entitled to receive a big amount of money, and that alone has or that alone changes their life dream, and they just carry on with the life. That kind of the burden of the pain or the loss. Of course, the loss is there, but that loss doesn't become a chain, kind of an obstacle that they can't not do anything in their life. So that's one major thing. And when I'm talking about the Neo-Dhana, remember this thing. I'm talking about the unearned income. I'm not saying that the person has paid something from their pocket, or they have some financial obligation, and then in the return they are getting something. No, it's just a plain simple free money and big amount of money that they are getting. And I'm sure that you might have seen this. This is not very uncommon. This is very common these days. And then there is a major illness and accidental injuries. So this also used to create the financial crisis. But now in many countries and in many progressive societies, so what they are doing is that they are creating what I would call as a safety net. So these are welfare initiatives that the countries are creating, and that covers various kind of a risk that a person might be going in his or her life. The eighth house is very closely related with the risk or the contingencies, things that are happening just out of the blue, and then creating all kind of problem in a person's life. And of course, in the contemporary context, it is more like creating the financial hardship in a person's life. So what is happening is that the societies and countries, communities are coming together, and then they are creating this kind of a safety net welfare. There are several schemes, and these are all freely available. And many of you might be aware of these things. So not long back, where the sudden illness or the accidental thing, or maybe some kind of train accident, plane accident, or a flood, those kind of natural calamity that used to create a very negative impact on a person's life. Now you will see that it is that kind of a negative impact has considerably reduced, and in many countries they have gone very far in making sure that these things do not impact a person's life too much. So this is one of the things that we need to notice. And then the loss of the job of person getting unemployed. Now these are all covered by what is called as unemployment benefits, and again these are no obligation financial help. So nothing is expected from a person who has lost his or her job, and the for a pretty long period of time. In some countries, even it is for 1 year. So they cover everything, and they support that person's when they are jobless, and so that helps reduce the financial anxiety. So uh, we can say that the dreadful crisis that at one point used to create a negative financial impact is now mitigated by the unearned income, and all because of the transformation that is happening in the eighth house, where the countries and societies are coming up to handle the crisis created by the eighth house. Now, if we recall the negative keywords that I just mentioned, that Shri Krishnamurti has given a list of all these negative keywords related to the eighth house. And but now what is happening is that if you read about the happiest countries in the world, and these are some of the happiest countries in the world, so what they have done is that they have created all kind of safety net programs, the few that I discussed, and that has helped in reducing the negative consequences of the eighth house. In almost all the countries of the world, in some part this is happening, and this the impact of the eighth house is considerably reducing, and it just will keep on reducing in the future. The way more and more countries are joining hands and coming forward and providing all kind of a relief in terms of major crisis without creating any obligation for that person. This is a truly amazing phenomenon, and we see it happening all the time. And but we haven't noticed that how this has helped reduce the impact of the or the negative impact of the eighth house. So I can say that the eighth house negativity is definitely losing the steam and the heat. Now, another aspect of the eighth house where it has gained significant strength is the corruption and bribery. So, according to the World Bank, more than 1 trillion US dollars is squandered every year on bribes, and it is ever increasing. And the bribery and corruption, clandestine dealing, under the table dealing, all these things are related to the eighth house. And this phenomena of bribery. See, I'm not trying to endorse the whole culture of bribery and corruption, but I'm just stating a matter of fact thing that we notice all the time. And this whole phenomena of corruption and bribery has reached an unprecedented scale. We encounter it almost daily in our lives. Another thing is that this has now become a socially acceptable phenomenon. See, the eighth house also indicates ill repute or the humiliation. So, but now that kind of fear is gone. Now the people who are involved in the bribery or corruption, they are at the same time they have some reputation in the society. So it has become a socially acceptable phenomena. And I remember that long back, one of my cousins, is a very junior clerk, told me that he gets so much of bribe money every month that the salary amount is peanuts and insignificant. So what that has helped is that it has helped that guy enjoy all the comforts of life, and there is no lack of money. So this is another something staggering that has happened because of the eighth house. This is again a part of the unearned income, and so this is again some new kind of dhanyo that is happening. It's a strange, I would say, a kind of a distribution of wealth also. So that's all happening in the eighth house. Now there is another hidden fact about the eighth house that has been pointed out by Sri Krishnamurti, and let me read it. So it says, since benefics in the eighth house indicate gain to the partner, as is said by Mahadev in Jatak Tat, the native may benefit by linking his or her fortune with another. This is something very interesting and something very hidden about the eighth house. See, what happens is when the eighth house manifestation happens in a negative way, it creates a serious kind of obstacles and roadblock in a person's life and career also. And at that time, I have seen the people, they go for various kind of remedies out of desperation, because the eighth house uh, effect is so bad that they go for all kind of nonsensical jadoo tona, lal kitab stuff, the nonsense lal kitab stuff and all that. So, but this particular fact about the eighth house, that the native may benefit by linking his or her fortune with another. Krishnamurti is not talking about a partnership over here. This is something different. This is seeking an arrangement to share some resources. I have recommended this to many people in the past several years, and but to explain this, I'll create another video. This is something very interesting about the eighth house, and that now it seems like eighth house is ready to accept this as a part of the remedy. So that's another very interesting positive transformation about the eighth house. So we started this video uh, by reminding the about the sixth house and what kind of a transformation has had happened in the sixth house. Only when Shri Krishnamurti pointed out the positive transformation that has happened in the sixth house. Now it's a very well established KP principle, and we see that the sixth house has a positive role to play. Similarly, I think the transformation that I discussed about the eighth house, that is happening in the eighth house. So if you're going through the eighth house dasha or antardasha, or in some way the eighth house is linked with some other houses, so it needs a little different kind of a interpretation in the, what I would say, the redefining of the role of the eighth house in our life. So as a Jyotish enthusiast, we need to sit up and take notice of this very interesting transformation that is happening in the eighth house. That's all in this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Thanks for watching.